Hello friends! I am getting ready to build a storage unit similar to this, and as you can see, this storage unit is designed for storage bins, and the one that I want to build, I want it to be a little different because the stuff that I want to store in it are not necessarily things that would fit in your standard storage box. So today's video is going to be part 1, and it's going to cover all the planning and the behind the scene thoughts that go on in my head when preparing for a new build. And this is the exact definition behind an inspirational picture versus what you actually execute for your own needs. To create my design, I'm going to be working on my iPad, and I use an app called Procreate. And to give you an idea, I already thought about this in my head a lot, and I actually have one sketch, which is right here, that looks really messy. So now I'm going to be looking at that sketch, drawing a new one, cleaning it up, and explain why I'm making the decisions I'm making as I go. First thing, select a new canvas. Then I go into Tools, Canvas, and turn on the drawing guide, and that gives me a nice grid to work with. Next, I'm gonna select the pencil. I like to use 6B, and I like to change the color as much as I can to replicate the object that I'm working with. So in this case, I am drawing a wood panel or a wood structure, so I change the color to yellow. Next, let's start drawing. So I'm just gonna draw a bunch of compartments. It's starting to look like lockers, but basically each of these compartments is gonna house something different. I actually wanna add some more compartments on the top. Now this makes sense in my head, but in order for it to make sense for you, let's add some labels. All right, so this top compartment is for storage boxes. And let's copy paste that into all the storage box compartments. And those are the compartments where I am going to put a crate full of something in there. And the rest of the vertical compartments are gonna house more unique items to my household. So in the second compartment, we're gonna do the ladder and our 4 feet tables. And the first compartment is for some gardening tools. And the third one is for our 6 feet tables. And this is my favorite. I have been wanting to build this for so long, just so I have a place to store our folding chairs. Next, I'm gonna go in with a different color, and I just wanna make marks on the screen of where I would wanna split the wood, like where my cuts would be, in preparation of calculating how much wood I need and where I need to make my cuts, so that when I start the build, I am as prepared as possible. I definitely want that top panel to be a whole piece of wood. It's gonna be 8 feet long, and the middle is gonna be its own piece as well, and the bottom. And I think that's it for the cuts I would have to make. Next, I'm gonna change the color of my pencil to black, and I wanna use the black to mark where I need to add hardwares to attach the wood together. For the middle divider piece of wood, I'm gonna use a T-shaped bracket, and then for the top and bottom corners, I'm gonna use L-shaped brackets. And then I'm just using a bunch of tiny L brackets everywhere else to attach everything together. Next, let's add some dimensions. I am gonna change the color again, maybe red this time. So I know that the first compartment needs to be 11 inches, and then I wanna duplicate that here. And the second compartment is gonna be 15 inches, and I'm gonna duplicate that. And the compartment for folding chairs is going to be 18 inches. Let's duplicate that. The storage box compartment is going to be 22 inches. So now that I have dimensions for each of the compartment, adding all that up plus adding all the wood that I have in between gives me an exact total of 96 inches long, which is the exact size of the lumber I can get from the hardware store. So this design actually ended up working out in my favor. It's just less cuts for me to make. So now I have a pretty good idea of the spacing, and based on this information, I can calculate how much wood I need to buy. For example, I have this top piece of wood that's 96 inches, so one piece of 8 feet, and then the middle one over here, that's gonna be another piece, and then for the bottom here, that's gonna be another piece. And just keep in mind that this design is for the front portion of the storage unit. Now we need to duplicate it for the back. So if I need 1, 2, and 3, I really need 6 in total for the front and the back. Now let's clear that up, and let's talk about the vertical pieces of wood, right? This is going to be another piece, and this is going to be another piece. I have to make some cuts for this, but that's okay because now I have all this information. This is going to be at least one piece with leftover, another piece with leftover, another piece with leftover, and this can probably be combined into one piece. So that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 duplicated for the back. So that's 12 plus the 6 that we had initially. That's 18 pieces. So with 18 pieces of 2x4x8, I can go really far. I can finish the front face of the structure and I can finish the back, but I don't have any wood left over to connect the two, and that's when the side view comes into play. I know that I want my unit to be 3 feet deep, so 36 inches, because that's the depth of the biggest item I want to store, and that's actually the storage crates. So I'm gonna just do a side view here. So if it was like this, and then like this, a little more down here, like that. I am not an advanced builder, and a lot of times I'm figuring things out as I go, but the more I build, the more I think of things ahead of time and I can incorporate them in a plan like this. So for now, I know that to connect the front and the back, I need 36-inch pieces of wood. So I definitely need this, and one more back here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 are enough to hold the whole structure together. Now that we know how deep the structure is, 36 inches, and how wide each compartment is, we can calculate how much we need each shelf to be, and based on that calculation, we can buy the plywood that will be used to create those shelves. I am going to do this math on paper because it's so much easier for me to scribble around than to do it on the iPad. Okay, let's talk. As you can see on my laptop, I started looking up plywood in preparation for what I just drew here. I'm gonna go over it because it's so much easier than I thought it was, and I think you're gonna find it easy too. So basically, if you remember, each of my compartments is 11 by 36, 15 by 36, 16 by 36, and so on. The last 3, 29, 29, 29 by 36, are the 3 top compartments in my design. So each sheet of plywood comes in a 4 by 8. So since all my measurements have one thing in common, which is the 3 feet depth, I'm assuming I have to cut this way and just lose that 1 feet, if you can see. So make a vertical cut, 1 feet goes to waste, and this part becomes 3 feet wide. And then this one piece, I can cut 11 inches, 15 inches, 16, 18, and 22. So out of one sheet of plywood that's 4 by 8, I can get all my shelves for the bottom compartments. And then I need a second sheet that basically follows the same idea of cutting 1 feet off the edge, and then I will be left with a 3 feet wide piece, and I can cut it into 29, 29, 29 for the 3 top shelves. Now, this is so important. I love doing this kind of math ahead of time because I don't have a car big enough to bring home 4 by 8 sheets of wood. And so I like to make all my cuts at the hardware store. Like, I ask them, they have a big saw and they just move fast with the saw that they have. So not only that this is gonna save me a ton of time to not have to do all these big cuts by myself, but I'm gonna walk out of the store with the exact size shelves that I need for my unit. I will include all of the information on any additional wood or any additional details that I add to my build in part 2. Part 2 is going to be the hands-on, where I actually cut the wood, paint it, assemble it. I hope this planning session or brainstorming session helped you kind of think outside the box when it comes to building something like this, and just take the time to personalize it to suit your needs. And you don't need anything fancy to do that. You just need a measuring tape, pen and paper, or an iPad if you'd like to use that, and just go wild with your imagination and you'll be surprised with what you can build. I'll say bye for now, and I'll see you in video number 2.